Welcome to Red-Handed Crimes channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Jane gripped the steering wheel, her pulse hammering in her ears. The realization had hit her like a thunderclap. She was in danger, and the very man who had helped her was not who he seemed. The address he had left on the note burned in her mind, an invitation or perhaps a warning. She should have driven away, called the police, but something deeper, a need for answers, drove her forward. The house stood on the edge of town, cloaked in eerie silence. The porch light flickered, casting elongated shadows across the peeling paint. Jane hesitated before knocking, her breath shallow. The door creaked open before she even made contact. "Come in, Jane," a voice called from inside. A shiver traced her spine. He was expecting her. She stepped inside cautiously. The house was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of old wood and something metallic. Photos lined the walls, dozens of them. But it was the one on the mantel that stopped Jane cold. It was a picture of her, taken years ago. Beside her stood a man, his arm draped protectively around her shoulder. She turned, her voice barely a whisper. "Who are you?" The man, her so-called savior, stepped into the light, and for the first time, she saw him clearly. Recognition came like a gut punch. "You don't remember me, do you?" he murmured, his eyes heavy with something that looked like sorrow. And then it clicked. He had been a shadow in her past, someone she had buried deep in the recesses of forgotten memories. A neighbor? A family friend? No. It was worse than that. A protector. A predator. Memories tumbled back, raw and visceral. The feeling of being watched, of whispered warnings from her mother when she was a child. The way the air in the house had always felt thick with unspoken fear. And now, after all these years, here he was. Not a stranger. A ghost from her past. Jane backed away, but he raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I never meant to hurt you," he said, his voice almost pleading. "I was just looking out for you." The floor beneath her felt unsteady. She had to get out. Now. "Why now?" she choked out. "Why help me tonight?" His face darkened, shadows creeping into his expression. "Because I knew. I knew he was coming for you again." Jane froze. "Who?" The sound of a car door slamming outside made her blood run cold. She turned just in time to see the headlights slicing through the window. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the light. "Run, Jane." The man's voice was urgent now. "He's here." The front door burst open. A tall figure stepped inside, his presence commanding, suffocating. Jane's breath hitched as the light from the porch illuminated his face. It was her father. Her stomach twisted in knots, the past colliding with the present in a terrifying wave of realization. He had vanished years ago, after a string of violent episodes, after the hushed arguments behind closed doors. Her mother had told her he was gone, dead even. But here he was, standing in front of her, very much alive. "Hello, Janie," he said, his voice smooth, laced with something sinister. "It's been a long time." Jane's so-called savior, her former protector, stepped forward, placing himself between her and the man she had long feared. "I kept you safe once," he murmured, his fists clenched. "I'll do it again." Her father's lips curled into a cruel smile. "You can try." Jane's heart pounded as the weight of everything settled on her. She wasn't just running from danger, she was running from her past. And now, it had finally caught up to her. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.